in terms of height, how do you feel? Are you too high, too low, or is it okay there?
No, that feels okay.
Alright. Any questions they pop up, just ask.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're happy with everything so far?
I think so. Yeah, I'm going to crash. We know that. But
Most people say that, but it ends up they fly better. I did it my first time, so don't worry about it. I'm going to put in some rough speeds for takeoff. So I'm going to say V1 is 135.
Yep.
Rotates 139. And V2 is 142. So I'm going to refer to this on takeoff. Other than that, like I say, everything's pretty much good to go. So, whenever you're happy, take off.
okay, here we go.
That's the full bell flight. Here the engines roaring and we are accelerating. Airspeed's now alive and moving. Also just going to do a cross tick at 100 knots to make sure both speeds are really smoothly.
Is that your engine speeds? Yeah.
Correct, that's the engine power. That's 100 knots, both check. V1 rotates. Got the positive range of flight, so I'm going to lift that gear up for you. That's 15 degrees. About 15 degrees. So right now we're climbing a wee bit too high, about 25. We're going to drop the nose back down. And get in line with that 15 degrees. And done. So as we're passing 1,000 feet, I'm going to retract the flaps up just by one stage. Took off with flap setting 2. We're now on flap setting 1. As our speed gets above that green S, we're going to go up to flaps 0. So green wing.
And when you see the flaps off, that'll change the rate. Alright, coming up with 180.
And you'll notice that vertical line starts changing. And that's it. Yeah, so we're right over our line.
Yeah, it's
Perfect.
right.
And you can see there'll be very minor adjustments to be made. That's always going to be the case. Perfect, actually mastered that. Now we're going to descend a wee bit further down to 4,000 feet. A wee bit closer to the second here, 2,900. And now you see that's loaded up. We're flying towards Glasgow. And once falling over there. That's it. Now, I'm actually going to get you to deviate a wee bit away from that flight plan. Okay? Just because that's going to cause us to turn too soon and not fly over the country, so if you want really nice views, we'll fly a wee bit further out. So yeah, 310 degrees, a little bit more in line. And then we'll make that left turn. Just keeping you on the road. We're going to stay at 4,000 feet now. Now, are you familiar with the way ILS works?
Not exactly, no. I mean, the one I kind of understood was actually for landing these, I don't know if they still use it, these system called vases.
Okay.
Where you can see on the runway ahead of you, you see lights, and I can't remember the colour, but green.
Out like that. So the aircraft has sensors within its nose that can pick up these radio signals and try and fly it all the way down towards the origin. I'm displaying that information on your screen and that flight director. So by using an ILS, using those instruments or the radio signals, we're basically flying all the way down a lane, like a three-dimensional lane down to the runway. And that's how that works. So it's quite accurate. It gets you lined up really nice with the runway. It tells you your lateral and vertical guidance, so it's really, really handy. Now I've turned the aircraft onto approach mode, so it's going to look out for these radio signals. Did you see how it really quickly snaps to the left there? That's it locks onto what's called the localizer, which is the horizontal aspect of it, the left and right. It's trying to lock you on. And now it's locked onto what's called the glide slope, which is the vertical aspect of it. I'm going to deploy your first stage of flaps just to help it slow down a little bit more. And you'll notice on the speed that dotted red bar up and down a wee bit.
Yeah.
So if we fly into that speed, we risk damage to the flaps and the wings.
Ah, right. The stretch is too high.
Correct. So we want to make sure we're below that little orange marker there at 200 before we deploy flaps 2. So there's maximum speed we can use those flaps. And you can see the numerical values noted here, or you can look for any of these orange markers. We're going to give you flaps 2 here, and I'm just going to get the plane to hold a speed of 175. Now at this point, we're starting to descend onto that glide slope, which is the vertical line that we're following. As you see, your flight director is no longer telling us to hold 4,000. Let's get to descend below it onto that radio signal. This is the point where we usually get the landing gear down, depending on company procedure. I'll take that down forward here. You hear that deploy? And with landing gear, it's also going to create a bit more drag, so that's going to help us slow down and maintain a lower speed too.
And you get to hear the sound of it as well.
You do. That's good. You don't get a bit of a thud when it comes down, like you, but if you want that, just punch the back of your chair and you'll feel it. Now, remember when I mentioned the brakes at the top of these pedals?
Yes.
Now, we don't actually want to do that on this one, because if you apply the brakes and then try to steer,
yeah,
you try it, you feel a lot of tension on your muscles and your legs, it's going to be quite sore. So what we use instead is something called the auto brake, which is located here. So I'm going to set that to medium, and that's going to automatically apply the brakes first to the medium force so we can focus on steering and playing ourselves.
So the auto brake, that picks up the fact that the landing gear is down.
Correct. When it gets weight on wheels, that's when it physically applies the brakes. It's the exact same in a bike or in a car, pads and discs, creating friction.
I think it was there's all this stuff with the Air India one.
Oh yeah.
And the rack deploying, how do you know a rack? And it's all to do with the rack will only deploy if there's no weight in wheels. And all this kind of thing, all this.
Yeah, rack will deploy if there's any loss of electrical power.
Is that the runway there?
That's it, straight ahead. You can see that kind of open area.
Yeah.
That's it.
Just as you go over the climb.
Correct. It'll become a lot clearer the closer we get, just the further out you are to get good on great distance. Now, as we're getting a little closer, I'm going to turn the aircraft onto managed speed. So you can see it's no longer showing us the speed there. The aircraft is managing the speed for us, so it's trying to get us to our final approach speed, which is we calculate to 135 knots. So now we need to start flying more flaps. I'm going to give you flaps 3 and then flaps full. So that's going to create a lot more drag. And that'll help us slow down and be a lot safer at flying at these slow speeds. That's great, you don't have to do anything with the throttles, it does that all for you. Now you will have to use the throttles on landing.
Yeah.
You'll need to pull them all the way back to 0 and then apply reverse thrust as well. So about now you can start resting your hand on that throttle, just getting it ready.
And
when we start
the lugs to reverse.
When we get into reverse, that's it. So you'll hear soon 1,000 be called out.
1,000.
That's referring to your height above ground. Height above sea, height above ground.
Bank from Glasgow ahead.
So the closer we get, you'll continue to hear these call outs. We'll go 500, 400, so on and so forth. And then over 50, 40, 30, 20, 10 as we start getting closer to that runway. Between 30 and 20, that's when you're going to pull the throttles back all the way to 0. When we land, then you can apply reverse thrust. And you'll notice when we land, you'll hear the wheels start spinning.
It's a lot harder to keep it on the green lines.
Yeah, now it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you imagine you're flying down a cone, like a radio signal, the closer to the front of that cone you get, it's more narrow. Yeah. And that's partially one of the reasons why you feel the plane gets a bit more shaky as you're coming into land. Even as a passenger, pilots are having to use a lot more corrections to keep it on path. And also get more mechanical turbulence from structures, hills, such around as well. This part we're starting to look a little more outside, sort of 50-50 between outside and inside. We can start to see that runway. We can see just to the left of that runway we've got 3 white lights and 1 red light. So it tells us we're just a tiny bit high. It's okay, we're still within an appropriate angle here, that's fine. Now 2 whites, 2 reds, so that's perfect. As we start getting a bit closer, we can't rely completely on the instruments. Yeah. So we're going to start looking a little bit more outside at this point, mostly focusing on that runway, with just the odd glance down.
100.
Get ready to pull those throttles back. We're going to now exclusively look out the window, start lifting the nose gently, pull the throttles back, that's it off the ground. Apply reverse thrust, let that nose gently come down, and then use those feet to steer the runners. Nice done. Okay, that right foot in a wee bit, bring the aircraft back to the centre. Oh,
wait.
That's always a backwards thing for me, that.
As we're coming to a stop, we're going to cancel the reverse thrust. What you're going to do is set it back to 0. Perfect. There we are. Let's go. You can see the Holiday Inn Express over there. You've got the terminal building here, the Logan Air hangar and everything.
So can you actually taxi in there if we wanted?
You can if you like, yeah. Go on.
Yeah, let's
Yeah, cool.
try that.
So this is where things get a wee bit more tricky. So we're going to use a little bit of throttle, so just a wee bit. I would say maximum about 40% thrust on the use this here. And you can see that little blue circle. You can kind of predict.
Is that?
It doesn't matter to go a wee bit further. It's just enough to get us moving. You can see the ground speed here is 8 knots. Maximum speed will be about 30 knots when you're going straight. For any turns, 15, 10 knots.
It's quite a bit of concern as well. That'll be
Now see at this point we're going a bit too slow to rely on the rudders. So remember what I said with the tiller there?
Yeah.
This is what you're going to use to steer the plane. So I'm going to give your engines idle, which is going to coast. You can see this taxiway going to the left. We want to try and take this turn. Now imagine you're driving a truck.
You've got to go far enough forward before you start.
Yeah, absolutely. Now,
So we're actually looking for the side window here then.
we're looking at the side window. Now you see that yellow line that's drifting to the left? That's what we're going to try and follow. And it's just very, very gentle on that rudder, on that tiller, sorry. It's very, very delicate. And it doesn't click in the centre. You don't get a great feel for that. It used to, but it was damaged recently, so you don't really get a good feel for it. And it's quite delayed as well. It's maybe about a 2-second delay before it actually does quick tell it. More juice on the engines. So you can see our ground speed about 6 knots. This is very manageable for this really tight turn here.
You kind of over that yellow line. I find it visually kind of harder to get that. Roll all over the place.
No, we're all good. 1, 2. We'll just continue straight and then that left turn. And we'll try and park where the A380 parks. I've turned our high beams off, so our landing lights, they're all off, and I've just turned our taxi light on, so that's just a small light on the nose. Not really helping us see, but more or less helping other planes see that we're taxiing. Yeah. So careful not to bring it too far to the right just yet. I can see some of those lights that are drawing us in first, so we're trying to get us in that direction. So we've got more flaps. So you can kind of guess where you need to go.
I actually think it's harder to do this visually than it is to do it on the instruments, yeah.
At this point, hand ready on the throttle as well. Everything's set up for our landing. We've got flaps full, gear down, brake with arms. Now, if you follow those lights, you can see the runway, right?
Yeah. When do you start in terms of that?
As you start flying over these lights. So you can see as they start to turn, we're going to slowly start turning in. That's it. Now you see these 4 white lights were too high. So start dropping the nose a wee bit. We're looking for 2 white and red lights. 2 white lights, 2 red lights. That's it. It's a very gentle turn. Just slowly lining yourself up with that runway. It's a nice rate of descent you got there. It's not too excessive so that we're going to crash. But it's also enough to get us coming down at a nice rate. So you should see these lights progressively getting more red. 500. 4. We've got 3 lights. We're just a tiny bit high. Now we're looking for 2 lights, 2 reds.
Visually, I'm thinking
we're a little bit far to the right. Now we're going to start lifting the nose a wee bit because we want to come out of that fast descent. Otherwise we're going to hit it too low. Actually, so lifting that nose, and we're going to try and turn our wings onto that runway. Straighten the wings up. Throttle flat. That's it. Wings to the left. And then get ready for your feet. Get that left in a wee bit. Not too much. And then get reverse thrust as well. We're on the ground. Look at that. Hey!
I want to land at Aberdeen.
There you go. See all this beautiful 747 trim to the left? Oh. And you now in a pretty cool city. Back to zero. I'll put the park brake on for you. And there you go.
Well done, Ian.
Just extended those waypoints a wee bit. So we're going to fly straight and then make a right turn onto this waypoint here and it guides you through these mountains.
Okay.
Now an RNAV approach sometimes is very good and accurate, sometimes is not. This case is the latter. So It doesn't bring you in actually very close to the runway. It effectively just guides you around these first few turns. After that waypoint, there's no instrumental guidance. For the last sort of 5 miles or so, it's all visual.
Visual.
And you don't see it yet, but there's a big hill that protrudes here. When we get lower, you'll see it. So we need to really hug this wall to the right here, and then do a very sharp turn like this to the left, and then another sharp turn to the right to line up. So it is
You're right,
more
it's Top Gun
challenging.
time.
Yeah. But we'll go through it.
Okay.
Sort of cross those bridges when we get there. But for now, you'll use those instruments.
Above sea level, I'm going to tell the aircraft 1% to 11,000.
Trick with this approach is to come in with landing gear down and flaps already deployed, so you're really
As low as possible.
Yeah. Our other approaches seem to be the kind of way forward for landings now. Because they're using these sort of GPS coordinates as waypoints, they don't tend to extend so far from the runway, so you can come in 5 miles away from the runway and do that turn and then land, so they tend to be a lot more efficient in terms of airspace use compared to an ILS approach.
You're really going to keep it nervy there with kind of heading and going into the mountains.
Even though we're 11,000 feet above sea level, at the lowest point we're probably only 4,000 or 5,000 feet.
What's the runway altitude?
7,350. Now because that's higher, the air density is a lot thinner as well. So that means the plane will slip through the air a lot easier because there's less resistance, less drag. So although our airspeed might be 135 knots on landing, our ground speed probably going to be closer to 145 to 150 knots. So a lot faster.
Terrain ahead, pull up.
Ignore that, okay? That'll happen, just ignore it. You know what you're doing. Now, pair the faster landing with quite a short runway as well. It tends to be quite tough to slow down at times. So we'll make sure we try and land punctually.
Terrain ahead, pull up.
We don't worry if we descend any of the passengers with
Terrain ahead,
chiropractor
pull
afterwards.
up.
We'll land it.
Terrain ahead, pull up.
Even if it's a hard landing, try and go for it. So we're going to try and target about 160 knots.
Terrain
And
ahead.
I'm trying to not terrain alarm off because it gets old after about the second time you hear it. And I'm really configured for landing. Still got a decent bit to go. So very soon, as we start making that right turn, we're not really able to rely on the instruments so much anymore.
Once we go right, that's kind of the end of
Yeah,
the
so as we reach this PR 708, as you see the line goes from green to blue, that's the point where we decide are we going around or not. Continue to descend to 9,000 feet. Now we're going to make a short turn. And at this point I'm going to turn your instruments off. We're going to try and look upside and stay quite close to this hill here, but following the direction of that river, so the bottom end of that valley. And you can see that hill I was talking about, the one that kind of protrudes straight ahead of us here. So we're trying to stay close to this hill, so that as we're flying past that one that's sticking outwards, we can try and turn
We're
and
heading
fly
into
along
this
the other
space
side.
here and then
Yeah, then we're making another left turn. We're going to lift the nose up a wee bit, don't get too low too soon. And then don't get too close to the mouth so that you scrape your wings off it. So at the very low point of the valley, across from there, that's where the runway is, and it's off in that direction. So that's why we're going to try and make quite a sharp left turn as we're flying over this hill. So if you want, we can try and fly towards the trees on that hill now, sort of in that direction. Or we'll start lowering the nose a little more as well. Dropping the nose, because we're starting to climb now a wee bit, nose is a bit too high. That's it. Now you're just going to try and stay close to the far side of this hill. You can see that river bends to the right quite sharply. That's following with the same thing, yeah. And you can see there's a small village just to the right of that, the river. Yeah. The runway's there. You can just about see the runway now off in that direction. So it's a pretty steep turn we've got.
quite a bit of
There we go. See that runway? That's it. Not too sharp, because you're giving yourself quite a lot of room, so I don't want to turn too sharp.
Oh yeah, I see it, yeah, that went
One hand ready on the roll. And there's no patchy lights here, guys, in this part. We just have to try to get to it.
As raw as it gets, Iain.
That's it.
one button.
Nice and straight. Nice one.
50. 40.
Power off.
Oh.
Power off. Oh no, you've taken a village out. There we go. Use that. We've got a second chance on now. Oh, we're back on the runway. Look
We'd
at
like to
that.
apologise for the death of your family.
Oh, Tokyo Drift right here. I think you might have burst some tyres on that one as well. And then we're just reverse parking into the runway. Look at that.
Well, 2 out of 3 is not bad.
Still did Hong Kong.
Following a glide slope, because we don't have one here, right? But that's what the traditional glide slope would look like if there was one. But you can see you get so close to that hill there. That was the last hill that we were coming in over. So it would be far too close.
So if
to
you
do it
actually
safely.
followed the glide slope, you would probably
Crash at some point, yeah. So you can see we're staying quite high, and then about this point we get nice and low, and you did a really good job of descending down to that point as well.
I mean, that for me, I think the problem here when I've got particularly high, because we're on fully visual at that point.
Yeah.
It's a feeling.
It is, yeah.
I should be looking at the instrument, at least glancing at, you know, like when you're driving your car, you're glancing, you know what your speedo is. I should be looking at what my altitude is, and as you say, with experience, you'd know what you need to be at.
Yeah, 100%.